I'd like to stay at this time to call the first witness.
So you can call Detective Cliff Maud, Your Honor.
Detective Maud, please. Detective Maud, this is the court clerk. She'll swear you in.
Clifford, C-L-I-F-F-O-R-D, Maud, M-O-G-G.
Thank you. Whenever you're ready, Ms. Hartley.
Thank you. Sir, how are you employed?
I'm a detective in Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department Homicide Section. I've been a police officer for over 30 years, been assigned to Metro for over 20, or almost 20 years now, and I've been with the Homicide Section for over 12.
And you were working in homicide back on February the 21st of 2013?
That's correct.
Were you one of the homicide detectives that responded to the scene on Las Vegas Boulevard and Flamingo?
Yes, I was.
And obviously that's in Clark County.
That's correct.
Sir, in the initial phases of the investigation, did you take a sort of specialized responsibility in gathering evidence?
I did.
What was that?
My job was to gather surveillance video from the various casinos along the route where the victims and where the suspect had been prior to the shooting, and then also to look at that surveillance video and make sure that the date and time was fairly accurate and that the things depicted on the video were consistent with all the other cameras.
And in doing that, you had to go, I would assume, to a number of different locations to collect all the available video of this incident?
I believe there was 12, 13 casinos, the police department, and then a couple cab companies.
And was all of that video compiled into a timeline depicting these events?
It was.
And in terms of the timing that's time-stamped on each of the video images, are those all synchronized, or how would you explain the timing that we see?
The timestamp on some of the videos are off by a couple minutes, and that's just to allow for variations in the time of the clock on the various digital recorders from the various casinos, cabs, and the police department.
And can you just give us an overview in terms of the events of where we start off on the video and sort of where the video ends up?
The surveillance video starts out at about 10:51 p.m. on the night of the 20th, and it picks up initially at the North Valet of the Aria Casino, and then the video ends on the 21st, somewhere around 4:30 in the morning at the Meridian condominiums.
And you personally have reviewed this video and ensured that the locations and what's depicted on the video is a fair and accurate depiction of what occurred that night?
I have.
Your Honor, this is State's Exhibit 208A, which I'd like to play for the jury. I believe the defense doesn't have an objection to this item of evidence.
That's correct, Your Honor.
This item, Exhibit 208A, will be admitted in the mid-March.
Thank you. And I'm gonna just ask you, Detective Maud, can you just orient us first where this video is starting off?
This is the North Valet of the Aria Casino in the City Center Casino Complex on Las Vegas Boulevard in Harmon.
And as we're looking at the valet, can you sort of give the ladies and gentlemen of the jury a preview of where they should be looking on the screen for the events that we're concerned with?
You see that dark colored SUV more or less in the center of the screen. You'll see a white Chevy Camaro with a black convertible top pull up in that area, and then you'll see two people get out. One of those people is Mr. Urban, the other one is Mr. Harris. Once they get out of the vehicle, you'll see them walk down toward the bottom of the screen, which is the north entrance into the Aria Casino.
And this is about 11 o'clock on the 20th.
That's correct, 10:53 p.m. This is the Camaro approaching him.
And the two individuals we see crossing toward the screen are Mr. Harris and Derek Irvin.
Yes, Mr. Harris is in the gray top, Mr. Irvin is in the black.
And this is just another view of that valet area at Aria.
That's correct. At this point, they'll enter the north valet doors.
And where are we now looking at in terms of the location, I guess?
These are the escalators leading from that north valet entrance area downstairs into the lobby for the Hayes nightclub.
And they're coming down the escalator?
They are. At this point, they're waiting in line to go into the Hayes nightclub.
This is a different view of the sort of the entry into the Hayes nightclub.
That's correct. This is basically a camera near the escalators oriented toward the entrance to the nightclub.
And this particular exhibit states 208A. Does it switch camera angles depicting sort of the same time or the same event?
It does. This is Mr. Harris with the gray shirt on, Mr. Irvin with the black, standing in line again. stand in line here for a little while before they're taken back behind the counter and into the Hayes nightclub area.
And they're now proceeding sort of off, they're in the center but going to the left.
That's correct. Now you see him on the, what would be your left side of that pillar, standing in front of it. You're the guy with the white shirt.
And at this point, it's about 11:15.
That's correct. There again is Mr. Harris to the left side of that pillar.
And he just walked out of view.
That's correct. And that's Mr. Urban just walking out of view now also.
And now we're back at the breezeway to the valet.
That's correct. These are the north valet doors from inside the casino out to the valet area. And this is just another camera angle showing the two of them walking, would be basically north through the valet area and back in the direction of the white Camaro. It's a little difficult to make out on the screen, but Mr. Harris is standing by the passenger side of the Camaro.
Can you circle where that is with your finger on the? That side?
It may be that the color's not the same. So, well, looks like on the curve, driving. You're probably too far to the left side. Sometimes there's a hue underneath that you can't see.
May I ask the witness to just point?
You may.
If you could go down to the big screen.
This is the white Camaro here. Mr. Harris is on this side. Mr. Urban is on this side.
we're back at Hayes.
That's correct. This is 1:35 in the morning. At this point, they all wait down here for admittance into the Hayes nightclub.
And Mr. Harris is in the center of the screen.
That's correct. So it's Mr. Harris up front with the baseball hat on, the three ladies, and then Mr. Urban with the baseball hat and the jacket with the design on the back. And then 1:37, Mr. Harris and his associates are escorted into the Hayes nightclub.
And that's at 1:37.
That's correct.
Now we're back at the valet at the Aria.
That's correct. This is the North Valley entrance. It's 3:33 in the morning now, and this Maserati is being driven by Mr. Cherry, and then Mr. Walters is his passenger. Mr. Cherry will be the gentleman wearing the maroon-colored shirt with the white design on the front. And then Mr. Walters has the baseball hat on and a black jacket.
And they're coming into the Aria from the valet area.
That's correct, through the north entrance. Here's just another view of them entering the door. Mr. Cherry is the first one in. Mr. Walters was the second. This is the escalator leading from the upstairs to downstairs where the Hayes nightclub is. This is both of them walking toward the lobby of the Hayes nightclub at 3:36 in the morning. And at 3:41, Mr. Walters is the first to go up the escalator, leaving the Hayes nightclub area. And then shortly thereafter, Mr. Cherry will also take the escalator upstairs. This is Mr. Cherry going upstairs at 3:43.
And he just stepped onto the escalator.
That's correct. This is just another view of that. Mr. Cherry is getting on the escalator right now.
The valet.
That's correct. North Valet of the Aria nightclub. At 3:45 in the morning, you see Mr. Cherry going to the driver's side of the Maserati, and Mr. Walters is at the passenger side. That's the valet standing there by the driver's door.
And Mr. Cherry and Mr. Walters just both got in the car?
That's correct. And the vehicle's turning on now. They'll pull out of that parking space, eventually leave the valet area, and then return a short time later.
Did they go on that circular loop that you described as you leave the ARIA valet?
They go out onto it, and then they return.
That's them pulling out?
That's correct. And they'll stop here for a minute. 351, they pull off. It's 3:52 now, and they just pulled back into the valet.
So did they do a complete loop, or?
They just did a loop. Really didn't go anywhere, just drove around the loop and came right back into the valet. And then they'll pull up here again for another couple minutes, and then they'll pull off and return to the valet for a third time. It's 3:54 now, and they just pulled out of the valet again.
So they're in valet, and now we're back at 350, looking at what?
This is the exit, the rear exit of the Hayes nightclub, and you just saw Miss Alfonso and a couple other young ladies leave, and in a moment you'll see Mr. Harris accompanied by a bouncer for the Hayes nightclub, Mr. Greer. Again, that's Mr. Harris in the red pants, and Mr. Greer is the large gentleman next to him. And this is Yenny, and these are two other ladies that have joined the party.
And this, what is this view?
This is the atrium area coming up from downstairs to the main level of the casino, where you make the exit out into the valet area.
And can you see the defendant or anyone in his group in this view?
You can. Miss Alfonso just walked over here. A couple of the other ladies that were with him are standing over there by the gentleman with the white shirt on.
And this would be on our screen, sort of the upper right?
That's correct.
There's sort of a group there.
That's correct. And then if you see the middle of the screen there, kind of in the upper part, the red pants with the black tennis shoes and the white soles, that's Mr. Harris.
And this is still inside the aria.
That's correct. And Mr. Harris is still with Mr. Greer, the gentleman that he walked out of the nightclub with. Standing next to Mr. Harris is one of the African-American females that walked out behind him. And then this guy with the white t-shirt and the white hat comes up, and there appears to be some type of discussion between Mr. Harris and him.
And he, the guy in the white hat, is now walking away.
That's correct. And now they're walking toward the north doors into the valet area.
Back at the valet.
That's correct. Looking down at the doors leading into the north valet. Another shot of the north valet. This is the Maserati leaving at 3:54, almost 3:55 in the morning. And it'll be back.
And then this is 356 in the same valet area.
Right, this is 3:57 now, and this is the Maserati pulling into the valet area. This person with the red pants walking up to the Maserati is not Mr. Harris.
Now we see Mr. Cherry and Mr. Walters.
That's correct. Getting out and walking back toward the north doors and to the crowd that's there. They'll be right here for just a minute. This is Mr. Harris walking over toward the Maserati. He's at the passenger door. That was Mr. Walters that just got in there. Mr. Harris is still accompanied by Mr. Greer, and you can see Miss Alfonso trailing behind them. And they're walking off north across the valet area back toward the direction of the Range Rover.
And we see Mr. Cherry kind of standing in the driver's side door area of the Maserati.
That's correct. And then these are the other two ladies just walking through the valet past that white truck that were with Mr. Irvin.
So it's now 3:58 and the Maserati just left.
Yes. View showing that loop area on the north side of the valet. And the Maserati is arriving again at 3:59. Mr. Cherry that just walked around the back of the Maserati.
And this is obviously a different view of the valet.
Yes, this is the black Range Rover.
Is that not in the location you wanted to draw?
No, ma'am.
Again, it's,
Your Honor, can I have him
You may.
step down when he wants to point something out?
You may.
Thank you.
do you need to rewind the tape?
No, I don't think so. This is a different, this is the breezeway into the valet area.
That's correct, going back into the casino. Again, this person in the red pants here is not Mr. Harris. Mr. Harris, Mr. Greer, and Ms. Alfonso in that last clip walked back toward the black Range Rover that was parked in the valet area. This African-American male with the white t-shirt and the white hat is having some kind of an argument with the person that just went into the casino.
the Range Rover in this picture, or in this view? Can you, sorry, stand up though, or when we go back to it, point out where that is?
If you saw the car that was parked on the ramp kind of facing lengthwise, it was parked directly behind that. And this is Mr. Harris going back into the casino through those North Valley doors at 3:59 in the morning. You'll note at that point he did not have his jacket on, but you can see that white design on the front of his t-shirt. And this is Mr. Urban standing off to the top there talking with the lady. And then he goes into the casino. This is Mr. Cherry and Mr. Walters exiting the casino. They had walked in there previously during one of the earlier clips after they parked the car.
Now they're walking back out to the Maserati at about 4:01.
That's correct. If you watch over there by that white pickup truck, you can see Mr. Harris pop in and out of view. Or I'm sorry, Mr. Cherry. Again, the person down here on the right side or the left side of the screen with the red pants, the black jacket, and the black hat is not Mr. Harris. Mr. Cherry walking across the valet area, across the entrance to the valet.
Is that Mr. Walters?
No, that one's Mr. Cherry, the other one
Sorry.
is Mr. Walters. And Mr. Cherry was standing there talking to the guy with the red pants on. Now Mr. Cherry, Mr. Walters walk into the casino. It's Mr. Walters in front, followed by Mr. Cherry. Mr. Cherry and Mr. Walters back out of the casino into the valet area. And that's at 4:05. And they both come out into the valet area. Mr. Cherry out into the roadway. Mr. Walters walking across, shaking hands with the guy with the white shirt on. Now Mr. Cherry shaking hands with him. Mr. Cherry and Mr. Walters are walking back in the direction of the Maserati. Now both are talking to the guy with the white shirt on. It's now 4:06 in the morning. They're still standing there talking. of them are just out of camera view on the right side of the screen. And now there's an altercation that breaks out between the guy in the white hoodie and then the African-American male in the white t-shirt and the white hat.
And none of those people are Mr. Cherry, Mr. Walters, or Mr. Harris.
That's correct. You can see here in a minute this will spill out into this roadway. And this is Mr. Cherry standing there by that white cone. And now this guy with the black t-shirt and the tan pants gets into an altercation with the guy with the white hoodie. There's never a fight at this point. The parties are separated. The guy with the tan pants comes back over here to where these cones are and points something, possibly a handgun, back in the direction of the people that are standing out there. And then he walks off into the valet area. Mr. Cherry and Mr. Walters are standing there just on that roadway talking to the guy with the red pants on. That was Mr. Harris that just walked across the valet area from the north doors back toward the area where the Range Rover's parked. they're still standing there talking to the guy that had the red pants on. And this is Mr. Cherry and Mr. Walters walking into the valet parking area. We're going to back up a little bit in time here to 4:08 in the morning, and this just shows another angle of that fight that you saw earlier.
And just to be clear, none of the people in it are Mr. Cherry, Mr. Walters, or Mr. Harris.
That's correct. While security was moving the camera around, this Alfonso actually walked from the Range Rover back over and into the casino through those north doors. This is Mr. Cherry shaking hands with the guy in the tan pants that had been involved in the altercation, the guy with the white hoodie. Mr. Cherry and Mr. Walters talking to the guy in the red pants.
Now it's 4:08 and we're still in the valet area.
Where the white car is parked in the center of the screen, just off the left rear bumper of that car is the black Range Rover.
Okay.
Which belongs to Mr. Harris. And then as you see this female walking across the headlights there in the center of the screen, that's Miss Alfonso as she's walking from the Range Rover back over toward the casino. And this is 4:08 in the morning. And this 4:11, that's Mr. Harris exiting the casino, walking into the valet area. Again, just a different camera angle of that same movement by Mr. Harris out of those north valet doors and into the valet area.
And you can see him walking across?
That's correct. He's walking on the passenger side of that white pickup truck there about center screen, and then you'll see him walk back off to the left side of the screen over toward the black Range Rover. And the person that's walking with him, I believe, is Mr. Greer. Just another angle of that. Mr. Greer and Mr. Harris walked over to the Range Rover, which again is behind that white car with the sunroof there in the center of the screen. This is 4:12 in the morning when they're at the Range Rover. At this point, Mr. Walters and Mr. Cherry are getting back to the Maserati. You can see the two of them standing over there. The Maserati is the silverish colored car parked with the headlights that just came on.
And that's in the upper left part of the screen?
That's correct. And Mr. Harris, at this point, walked over to the driver's side of the Maserati. And this is just the reverse angle of that. You can see Mr. Harris coming from the area of the Range Rover, and then Mr. Cherry and Mr. Walters at the Maserati. Mr. Harris at the driver's door. And the Maserati pulls forward. And they're leaving the valet area at 4:13:44 in the morning. And Mr. Harris is still in that valet area walking around. Angle again of the Maserati leaving. And you can see Mr. Harris in front of that white pickup truck.
Now this is an aerial view of that loop?
That's correct. This is a camera from the Bellagio, I believe, that faces kind of east into that valet area. And this is 4:13 in the morning. The Maserati just pulled away. This is the Maserati passing the valet area of the Vidara. And then at 4:14, the Maserati actually made a turn in the wrong direction to go west on Harmon. Now this...
Yeah, I want to stop for a second. The Maserati makes a turn to go west on the Harmon. Now, obviously, we're in a gap. Yes, in the
That's
street.
right. This is Mr. Gutierrez in his Lucky Cat.
And where is he taking up the Faribault?
He's just pulling up to the Aria valet area and picking up two African-American males who sit in the back seat.
And there's audio with his cab.
There is, and this is 4:14 in the morning. Again, this is the time from the cab, which could be off a little bit from the time in the casino.
Want to get a ride? Where are we going?
Now he's pulling through the valet area. You're going to see him come around on the loop there. That's him pulling down at 4:15 in the morning to pull out onto Harmon. And this is Mr. Harris walking back to the Range Rover. This is 4:15 in the morning. This is interior view, and then a camera that faces forward from the inside of the cab, showing the front of the car as it's driving. And this is the cab as it's traveling on Harmon. And it actually pulls to a stop right at Harmon and Las Vegas Boulevard to go north on Las Vegas Boulevard.
And that would be obviously heading into the direction of Flamingo.
That's correct. This is just another view from a different surveillance camera. I believe this camera belongs to the police department. You see the Range Rover pull out here. It'll turn its lights on in just a second. Not right there. That's the Range Rover as it pulls out. And then the Range Rover goes around the loop and pulls out onto Harmon to go toward Las Vegas Boulevard.
And I think he said it'll be a left turn that you make to go north on Las Vegas Boulevard.
That's correct. And this is 4:16 in the morning. Again, the times could be off by a couple minutes, so there's some
There's different
sequencing there.
There's different agency cameras, like it's not all one surveillance entity.
That's correct. And there's the Range Rover behind that cab. Here's the Range Rover pulling up to the intersection there of Harmon and Las Vegas Boulevard. And it actually pulls in front of all the traffic. You'll see that here on the cab's camera. And then this also from the Metro Police camera at that intersection, how the Range Rover pulls in front of the two turn lanes.
And in one of the turn lanes is the cab and the other is the Maserati.
That's correct. This is the Maserati making the turn, and this is the cab making the turn. And you'll see it again here in this camera.
That's the Range Rover first.
That's correct. Then the Maserati. And then Mr. Gutierrez's lucky cab is that first cab in line there as it makes the turn. And now they're going north on Las Vegas Boulevard toward Flamingo. The first intersection they're going to get to is Paris and Bellagio. And this is 4:18 in the morning. They're traveling north. The Range Rover is directly in front of the cab with his blinker on. And the Maserati is in the, what we call the number 2 lane to go north on Las Vegas Boulevard.
That would be on the right.
That's correct.
Looking over the hood of the cab.
Yes. So they're a couple feet between the passenger side of the Range Rover at this point and the driver's side of the Maserati. At this point, nothing really attracts the attention of the passengers inside the cab or the driver. This is 4:18 in the morning again. This is another view from a Metro Police surveillance camera of that intersection. You can see the Range Rover arrives at the intersection first with his blinker on. The Maserati pulls up along the passenger side from that travel lane. And then Mr. Gutierrez's lucky cab is directly behind the Range Rover. The light turns green, and you'll see the Range Rover actually encroach on the Maserati's travel lane.
And can you hear the shot?
You can, if you turn the volume up.
Yeah.
And here you can see how close they are as they travel north. And this is just getting through the intersection, and again, the lucky cab is directly behind the Range Rover.
This is just further along.
Just another view of the intersection. Range Rover arriving first, followed by the Maserati on the passenger side. The lucky cab directly behind the Range Rover. I'm not going to talk as this next sequence comes up because it'll be the Range Rover and the Maserati going north on Las Vegas Boulevard, followed by the cab. And then I want you to listen for the first gunshot. From this view here that you hear the shot.
If it's from daytime, you know it's a nigga. Nighttime, you know
That's the shot.
That's the first shot.
And that's at cab's camera, 4:19 in the morning.
And this next view we have is from, I guess, still along Las Vegas Boulevard.
That's correct. And that was the Range Rover first, followed by the Maserati. Just another angle of that same shot. You see the Range Rover traveling first, followed by the Maserati. And there's Mr. Nichols' path. Those are more shots. As they're traveling north on Las Vegas Boulevard.
When you listen to it, how many shots do you hear?
It's either 2 or 3 shots, as there could be an echo. And that's the explosion at 4:19:22 in the morning.
The first shot that occurs at the very first shot, like as they pull away and the Range Rover encroaches into the lane, is that one isolated before the other ones?
Yes, there's a few seconds in between that single shot and then the multiple shots that you hear as they're traveling north on Las Vegas Boulevard.
And then there's the explosion, which is pretty much at the intersection of Flamingo and Las Vegas Boulevard.
It is in the intersection of Flamingo and Las Vegas Boulevard.
Go ahead.
Yes, Sharon.
Just understanding what we're doing.
Oh, okay, I'm just trying to advance the,
I noticed that the video cycled back around to the
yeah,
beginning,
I'm
so.
just trying to get it to the place where we just left off.
And from this angle here, looking out the front of the cab, you'll see how the Range Rover kind of moves in toward the driver's side of the cab, and at that point is when you hear the first shot.
Just to clarify, so the driver's side of the cab.
The driver's side of the Maserati.
I don't know if it's a dude or a girl though. You know, how many times link up? That's what. If it's from the daytime, you know it's a nigga. But the nighttime, you know it's a good. Cracking like that.
After that first shot, the Range Rover goes in front of the Maserati.
That's correct.
Did they they switch positions, or is the Range Rover ever on the, I guess, driver's side of the Maserati again?
Not that I could see in the surveillance video. There is one point right before they go underneath the pedestrian overpass where the Maserati is could have been on the driver's side of the Range Rover as a passenger.
That's the explosion.
That's correct. And then that's the Maserati, that's the Range Rover.
Oh, shit! Oh, fuck! What the fuck? That gotta be some movie shit.
I'm gonna stop it there. Where do we see the Range Rover go after the explosion?
The Range Rover actually weaves its way through the traffic that's still coming eastbound on Flamingo after the accident, after the explosion, and kind of goes around what would be behind or to the west of the cab that's on fire, and then continues to go northbound on Las Vegas Boulevard.
And then is it seen again on surveillance back at the Meridian?
Yes.
And at that time, are the occupants the same people that have been described earlier, Mr. Harris, Miss Alfonso, and the two other young ladies?
It is. I actually followed the Range Rover all the way up to the Venetian, into the Venetian valet, through the valet, out the rear of the Venetian, through a side street and out back toward Koval, and then I pick it up again as it comes through the Koval gate, or the Flamingo gate comes through the Koval gate at the Meridian condominiums, and then it drives around back to the Flamingo gate where it meets up with the white Camaro once again.
And that's Mr. Irwin
That's correct.
back at the Meridian.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Please record.
You may.
Ladies and gentlemen, just having a scheduling conference with council as it is almost 5 o'clock, about 10 minutes till. We are going to go ahead and adjourn for the evening, have our evening recess. We will return here tomorrow and begin promptly at 9 a.m. So I do ask that you be present with us and ready to begin at 9 a.m. Of course, you know the instructions where the marshal will meet you and bring you to the floor. We'll ask the witness to return as well at that time. During your overnight recess, you are admonished that you are not to talk or converse among yourselves or with anyone else on any subject connected with this trial, or read, watch, or listen to any report of or commentary on the trial, or any person connected with this trial by any medium of information, including without limitation newspapers, television, radio, internet, or social media, or form or express any opinion on any subject connected with the trial until the case is finally submitted to you. Have a good evening. We'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m.
This way, place the notebooks in the chairs.
Mr. Langford, I appreciate we need to break, but I have some things we need to put on the record. So I don't know if Mr. Harrison can handle that, or if you want to speak to that.
I'm fine.
Briefly, all right, thank you. Anybody, please, we have a few minutes to put on the record before we adjourn completely for the evening. We just did confirm at the bench that the detective could return, so we anticipate to begin with his testimony at 9 a.m. We did have a couple of matters, as I said, I wanted to put on the record. One clarification, there was reference to, and obviously the testimony of Detective Mogg has been regarding what you identified and the court admitted as Exhibit 208A. According to my court clerk, the video is marked 208. So I didn't know if that was some sort of marking related to the sleeve in which the video is found, in the video itself. This is a minor point, but we just want to make sure that our records are accurate.
There's two videos on the disc. One is A and one is B, so this is A.
Okay, but essentially, as far as the physical disc, there's only one disc, is that
Right,
correct?
that's correct.
So essentially what we are talking about is within the disc, an Exhibit A, which is the video we're discussing with Detective Mogg.
Correct.
And there will be a second video on the disc.
There's a truncated version. That's B.
Okay, thank you. Speaking of the exhibits and how we're going to address them, I asked my clerk the question on break in terms of have there been any stipulations. I'm not seeking necessarily stipulations, but what I'm hoping to do is sort of shortcut the dialogue in terms of the entry of the exhibit. So if there are stipulations, then that would be wonderful, and my clerk can note them, and then we can just go ahead and indicate this is exhibit such and such that has been stipulated to be admitted. I'll say you may publish and we can go forward. If we do not have stipulations, again, that is fine, but Ms. Barkley, then maybe you can just identify the exhibit. I can then inquire of the counsel for the defense if they have an objection. If they don't, they can say no objection. I'll say it's admitted and published and we can go forward, rather than each time having to say I don't believe the defense has an objection, in that longer dialogue. I think we can shortcut that a little bit. Okay? Just for future reference, just to save a little bit of time, and I appreciate that we have already had a number of meetings, and I don't anticipate there being any difficulties or objections with regard to the exhibits, but just again to streamline the record for that. As far as the opening statement of the state, there was a bench conference requested. The bench conference took place in chambers. That bench conference, at that time, Mr. Erickson advised the court that he had been advised by the defendant, as Mr. Stanton was illustrating a point with regard to the video, that the gentleman that Mr. Stanton was indicating was Mr. Harris in red pants and black shirt was not in fact Mr. Harris. The discussion that we had in the chambers conference was that there was not necessarily a basis for an objection to be made at that time, that if there was contrary evidence that the state indicated that it was understanding that that was Mr. Harris and the defense had other evidence to the contrary, that evidence would be brought forward at the appropriate time, either in openings or throughout the course of the trial, but there was no basis for an objection. So when we returned to court, there was no further discussion. There really had not been any objection made. It was simply an ask to approach. We addressed it, and I indicated in the Chamber's conference that any such future objections, to the extent the defendant or counsel believed that what was being stated in the opening was not an accurate reflection of the facts, and unless they had a specific objection to that, if it was just a difference of opinion, if you will, that counsel would raise it again in the appropriate time and circumstance. I would note there were no further objections during the counsel's opening statement. Does either side have any information they would like to add with regard to the bench conference?
No, Your Honor, other than that we decided to address that with Detective Mogg, and obviously we, as Ms. Weckerly did numerous times, address that indeed that is not Mr. Harris.
Yes, and I would agree that that information was clarified through the testimony of Detective Mogg, and I think Mr. Erickson also addressed it in his openings, in his opening statement as well. Anything from the defense further with the bench conference?
No, Your Honor.
All right. I do want to talk a little bit about the sort of, trying to think of the right word, handling of the fact that we do have microphones not only present in terms of the typical court recordings, but microphones present with regard to those participating in the trial, and how we can ensure that if we are having a bench conference, whether in chambers or at the bench itself, that conference will be private. There will be a subsequent record made, but we also want to make sure that we sort of follow sort of decorum. So I'm just not sure if we have figured out exactly how we're going to be handling that issue. I'm more directing this to the state, but Mr. Langford, did you have something you wanted to add on that point?
Yes, Your Honor, only to add that my concern is also, if I understand we can turn these off temporarily.
I was going to address the defense counsel bench in a moment, but yes, since we are on that point right now, typically the microphone, you can move it if you want to be closer, or you can leave it where it is, but typically if there's going to be a time when you and your client will be talking, you would reach over, hold the button down, have your conversation. It would not pick up. I did confirm with my staff, because of the overflow room where folks are observing, that conversations immediately prior to Mr. Erickson presenting his request for conference, which Mr. Erickson indicated in the conference that he and Mr. Harris, or you and Mr. Harris, had a conversation about the identity of the individual in the red pants. Also, I could not hear what was being said, but I could understand that there was discussion at the council table shortly after that objection was made and we returned, or that request for conference was made and we returned to the courtroom. I inquired of my staff whether or not anybody in the adjacent room heard anything being said at the defense table, and I was assured that they did not. And we have court observers there. As you might remember, when we had the first bench conference, before we even got started, one of the marshals who had been observing in the adjacent room came in to let the court know that there was something at that bench conference being picked up. I knew that, and I specifically allowed the bench conference to go forward because at that point what we were discussing was the live mics and the fact that the mics could be heard, and I wasn't clear if us having white noise at the bench would preclude them from hearing it next door. We determined that it did not. And so that is why I called for the next bench conference to be in chambers, and we assured that the microphones were off. But I have no reason to believe that after we advised you of the need to potentially have conferences separate from the room, that there was anything else picked up or heard. But out of an abundance of caution, if you are going to discuss matters at your table, you should mute the mic. What about the microphones related to the state representatives? How are we going to deal with that, or is that something that you need to discuss perhaps with the folks providing microphones and give us some information on that tomorrow?
I don't think that will be an issue after today.
Okay. My understanding was that there would potentially be additional filming beyond today's date, and so if it comes up again, then you'll let us know and we'll work it out. I think we handled everything fine today. And I appreciate everybody's decorum and the fact that everything, I think, today went very smoothly. Didn't have concerns about that. We just want to make sure that we have those things in mind. Also, last but not least, as you know, of course, we are keeping the jurors on the breaks in the back area. And so I didn't really discuss with counsel when they take breaks where they might proceed, but whether they're going out front, it seemed like that was the case. If they were to go into the back, of course, there is a separate door that will keep the jurors separated, and there is, facilities and other things you can use down the hall. But however you're working that out seems to be fine. I just wanted to make sure, since we hadn't touched base on that. Is there anything else that we should address before we reconvene tomorrow?
Not on behalf of the state.
Want to ensure that council has an opportunity to speak with Mr. Harris tomorrow if need be. What time will we anticipate everybody being present? What time should we make the courtroom available? 8:30?
Sure, thank you.
Okay, the courtroom will be made available at 8:30, and hopefully we can start coffee at 9. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I don't know. Mr. Harris, we filed at 8:30.
My understanding, the corrections officer nodded, so I would expect that to be the case.